Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. It has now been about 1 year since I uploaded my first toxic boy moms video, and it is currently my most viewed video on my channel. So thank you all. And I since then have uploaded several videos about toxic parents, and just bad parenting, right? And hilariously, I noticed that all of them are my top performing videos on the channel. And every time I'm confronted by that, I laugh so much. My top 7 videos of last year were literally just all about bad parents. And I love that we can all come together and complain about parents together. And we just have that in common, you know, parental trauma. I love that for us. But one of the ones that you all seem to enjoy a lot that I have only done once a long time ago was toxic girl dads. You know, we take a break from the toxic boy moms and move over to toxic girl dads. And I wanted to make a second installment of that today because toxic girl dads are something. They are a big problem, and they make me incredibly upset and uncomfortable. And so I wanted to have a look at some more of them today. Now, the standard toxic girl dads are, you know, as with toxic boy moms, there's a lot of emotional incest there. There's a lot of overprotectiveness and favoritism, and it just exists in a different way, but also is very similar. It's really weird. And so we're going to have a look at some of that today. Before we get into it, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to today's patron of the day, Ifa. I appreciate you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. It starts at as little as £1 a month, and I appreciate it greatly. Yeah, so let's get into some toxic girl dads. We start off with reminding my daughter how I'ma act when boys start coming around.
Don't act like you forgot. I called a shot. Like blah, blah, blah.
And it is this young girl kind of standing there with her dad. And you know the song, don't act like you forgot. I call the shots, like blah, blah, blah. And he's pretending to shoot her. Well, not shoot her, but being I have a gun, I can shoot people. Because, you know, it's really, really funny when you tell your daughters that they are not allowed to have boyfriends or date boys at all, or you're going to shoot them. You're going to kill them. Because no one's allowed to touch your daughter. What? Why? I do not understand why this is such a common thing. Why is this a thing? Why is it so socially acceptable for men to threaten to kill anyone who looks at their daughters? Not especially, it doesn't matter how old they are, but especially when they're children. This starts so young. So young. The person in this video is a child. And I know she's laughing, but also, you know, you kind of do laugh in situations where you're a little bit uncomfortable. And also when you're a child, not really understanding the full gravity of the threat, regardless of whether it's real or not. The weird ownership that these fathers have over their daughters is so creepy. Why? I just need you to explain to me, why you don't want your daughter to date boys. I really just need you to say it to me. Just say it to me. Why? Why is it? Why do you feel so threatened by a man dating your daughter? Unless it's a reflection of you don't want your daughter to date someone like you know, because you would do something that would hurt her. But that's a reflection on you, right? A lot of these men are I know what boys are like. I'm well, that's kind of speaking for yourself there, isn't it? I know what boys are like. Why? Because you are one? So you're admitting that you would do something fucked up? I think that you need to sit with that. And then there's this whole thing of taking my daughter all around the world so your raggedy son can't impress her going to Dallas. This is a thing boy moms do as well, but they always do teaching my son to cook so he won't be impressed by your daughter's like spaghetti bolognese or whatever. Like taking my daughter around the world so she won't be impressed by your son taking her to Dallas. Like, oh my God, get over it. I don't. This is the problem with all these parents is they make all forms of relationship blurred into one ball. You know what I mean? They're kind of like, no one will love my daughter as much as I love her. No man can be as good for her as I am. No man can love her like I do. No man's gonna be able to impress her like I do. Like, they're not trying to. It's a completely different type of relationship and a completely different type of love. It doesn't compare because it's different. And it's really weird to me that you seem to think they're on the same sort of like wavelength, because they're not and they shouldn't be. Like taking my daughter around the world so your son can't impress her with Dallas. Like, it's different though. Like traveling with your dad is really different to traveling with a partner. Regardless of where you go, it's gonna be completely different trip and a completely different experience, like it's just not really the same thing. And like maybe she won't be impressed by Dallas, but she'll have a very different time there because of the person that she's with. And when you're with someone you love, it doesn't really matter where you go, just as long as you're there together. And I just find it really weird that seem to equate them as being the same thing when they're not. This goes off of TikTok as well. This goes into some Reddit posts, such as this one here. So these are some really good photos of these men holding these young women, like prom photos or wedding photos. They look like wedding photos. These girls are wearing white dresses and these men are like standing behind them and holding them in their arms, like hugging them. And it just says, these girls aren't getting married. They're making virginity pledges to their dads. They're making virginity pledges to their dads. You don't own your daughter's body or her sexuality at all. And it's so weird to think you have a claim on that. Like, why does your daughter have to promise you her virginity? Ew, that sounded really gross. But that's what they're doing. Like, they're promising to keep their virginity to please you. That sounds so gross. It is so gross. And it sounds even worse saying it out loud. In what way is that owed to you? And in what way could that possibly matter? Like, I do not understand at all. I get that you don't want your daughter to be like hurt. You don't want your child to be hurt by anyone. And that's the same with having any child, regardless of gender. That doesn't give you the right to threaten anyone or make your child pledge to not date until they're 90 or make them sign virginity pledges, because those are completely different things. One is like, you can support your child and give them a safe place to talk and ask questions and help them be safe and make good decisions. And one is telling them you own them and their body, and that if they have sex before marriage or before you deem it appropriate, then they're breaking a vow to you because for some reason you have ownership over your own daughter's virginity. I just don't really understand at all how and why this is a thing. Oh my gosh, it's so creepy. It's so creepy. And, as we all know, there's a lot of hypocrisy in this. Like, this person made this video. Me as a future dad.
Hey, Pop! What? Can I have a girl over? Invite a girl over? Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah, invite her over. She bad? Yeah, she bad. Okay, well, hey, I'll take your mom, we'll go to dinner, that way you can have the house alone. Yeah, for sure. Just let me know when she's coming over. Thanks, Pop. All right, yeah.
Dad.
What? Huh?
Can I have a boy over?
A boy? Fuck no.
Why not?
No.
Oh my gosh, you're being so unfair.
No, go to your room. You're grounded.
Grounded?
Yes, you're grounded.
What the fuck, Dad?
You can date when you're 34. Go to your room.
34? I hate you, Dad. I hate you.
Like, the hypocrisy is unreal. And we all knew it was there. We all know. It's so funny because you want your daughter to be protected and a virgin and not touched or even looked at by another man until she's 34. Yet you encourage your son to date girls and sleep with girls because that's something that boys do. But that's someone else's daughter. But that's fine though, because that girl's not your property, right? She doesn't belong to you. So it's okay that your son touches her and dates her because she's not your property. She's someone else's. She's your son's now. Like, tell me what the difference is. It's so just ridiculous. And like the fact that they are very aware that this is a thing they have, like they know. They're like, yeah, my daughter, she's my sweet, pure angel. No one's allowed to even look at her. My son, though, he can go do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, how does that not alarm you? How are you able to hold both of those values at the same time? How are you able to do that and not reflect on yourself? Like, that's ridiculous to me. Like, it so very much comes down to them being like, well, I don't trust other boys because I know what I'm like and I don't want anyone to treat my daughter like that. But then also being like, but it's fine if my son treats other women like that. It's fine if other girls get, you know, treated poorly and used and abused. Like, that's fine. But my daughter isn't, because all boys are the same and all of them are going to use her. And then there's also like the whole thing of being like, you can't even have a boyfriend because boys only want one thing and you're not allowed it. Like, why isn't your daughter allowed to have sex? Like, why does that matter? Why is that something you have to protect her from? If that's something she thinks that she is ready for, then I think what you need to do is provide a safe space to be able to talk to you about that and make sure that she is safe and is able to talk and ask questions. That's really all she needs, because if she's going to do that, it's better that she does it with your knowledge and understanding, and so you can have conversations and a safe space, than her to hide it and potentially be getting hurt, you know? Like, if they want to, they're going to, and the stricter you are about it, the more likely it's going to happen, to be completely honest. That's why so many all-girls schools end up with pregnancies. So many like Catholic schools end up with pregnancies. Abstinence-only schools end up with pregnancies. Because one, they don't have the knowledge and information on how to stay safe. But also because they feel like they have to hide it and they sneak around, and it's more of a motive to do it when you know you're not allowed to, you know? This is a very different vibe. This is 30 minutes ago, my dad made me cry for being a shitty daughter, and I swore I hated him. But now I'm watching him hand build a deck at night and swearing I'll never find someone who will live up to my dad. And that is so sad. And you see a lot of this as well, right? Of like, your parents are the ones who sort of teach you about love and relationships. And, you know, people like to say that you need a strong father figure in your life, you know, because you need to learn what a man is like. You need to know what to look for in a man or whatever. And so often, those aren't good lessons. So often, you grow up around men who are abusive, either emotionally or physically, or they're manipulative, or they're lazy. Like, we end up in these cycles of straight people settling and marrying people they have to look after, because that's what kids grow up with seeing. Like, oh, mom looks after dad and dad does fuck all. Like, that's the dynamic they learn. And they learn about love like this. Oh, my parent made me feel like shit, very inadequate, but now they're going and doing something nice for me, so like they're actually great. Like, that's not how this works. That's still not okay. And I know this isn't exclusively a girl dad thing, this is like a parent thing, but I don't care, it's important. Of like, so much emotional manipulation and emotional abuse takes place, and kids are not aware of it, and then they allow that into their relationships of their own, and end up in really toxic and really bad relationships, because that's what they think love is. You accept the love you think you deserve, and you learn what love is from your parents. So if your dad makes you cry for being a shitty daughter, and then to make up for it, goes and does a nice thing, and suddenly you're like, I'll never find anyone like you. No, that's terrible. That's terrible. You shouldn't be looking for someone who makes you feel like shit and then feels guilty about it, so does a nice thing. You should be with someone who loves you and doesn't ever make you feel like shit, and they just do nice things because you deserve nice things. Like, set your bar higher. That's the thing. I guess that's the thing with these girl dads in all of these as well, of being like, they know that they've set the bar really fucking low. They know they've set the bar low, and they're not good enough for their little gal, as they say on TV literally all the fucking time. But like, they're the ones who set the standard. And I think that they're all too aware of it a lot of the time. They're the ones who set the standard, and they worry that that means their daughters are going to date someone like them, and so they have to be overprotective. But the solution isn't for you to threaten to kill their boyfriends. It's not for you to keep them in bubble wrap and never let them even look at a boy. It's for you to be better. I just thought I'd put it out there. Usually, if you're like a good dad setting a good example, you're fine with your daughter having girlfriends. So really, it is a big self-reflection on the fact that you won't let her date, because...
Coco, man.
Wow. Hey, Pops, I'm going to my friend's house.
You are? When are you coming home?
10?
10? You asked your mom?
Yeah.
Make it 6.
Okay. What are you guys doing?
Oh, honey, I knew you wanted to watch a movie with us.
This is a TikTok of this girl coming into the lounge with her like 4 brothers and her dad all sitting on the couch watching a movie together. And she says she's gonna go to a friend's house. She'll be back at 10. The bargain is, no, you'll be back at 6. And then as she walks out, her brother's going to grab her, bring her back into the lounge, sit her on the couch, and then her dad is like, oh, I knew you wanted to stay. Like, controlling this. Why is it such a like normalized thing? Because this account, I think I talked about them in the last one of these I did. This is pretty much all of their content. It's just overprotective dad, like daughter being favorite out of 5 children and like 4 sons, you know, like, and being so overbearing. Like, no, you aren't allowed to have friends. No, you aren't allowed to leave the house. You have to be in my sight at all time because I love you. You're my favorite child. Like, for one, don't have favorite children. Don't treat your children differently. Treat all your children the same. There was a Bluey episode about this. I feel like if children can understand it, adults can understand it too. You shouldn't have a favorite child. You should love all your children equally, and you should treat them equally. And then you also shouldn't have so much control over them. You don't own your child. You don't own your child. Let your kids have relationships, whether they be romantic or platonic or whatever. Let them have a life. Because if you deny your child from having their own independent thoughts and life, it's gonna backfire really bad for everyone in the end. Ultimately, it can have a really negative impact on your child and also on your relationship. And I just don't really think it's worth it. Something about making these girl dad videos that I find really interesting is that searching up, trying to find like toxic girl dads is really difficult compared to searching up how to find toxic boy moms. And I find the interesting part of that, and the reason why, is that I kind of like making these videos from watching videos of the toxic parent, right? So like when dads post videos of them being toxic or like those quotes and stuff, like that's what I like to do instead of using people's stories about them, just because I just think it's a better way to do it. And they very rarely like post about it. They don't post videos about it super often. Whereas toxic boy moms, for some reason, really love to boast about how much of a toxic boy mom they are. And I just find it really fascinating because toxic girl dads, there are so many videos of girls talking about their toxic fathers. Like there's so many videos of women talking about the misogynistic things that their dads have done. and just how it was shitty being raised by a toxic father. Whereas toxic boy moms, a lot of them just openly are posting about them being toxic boy moms and having favorites and emotional incest and stuff. And I find it so fascinating because it very much shows sort of like one of them kind of knows that they're not really in the right and they're doing kind of a fucked up thing, but they're gonna continue to do it. And the other is just blissfully unaware that they are being toxic as fuck. And I can't tell which is worse or if they're just different. But I just find it really interesting. Here is another example of dads who like to be extremely overbearing of their daughters, where this dad is measuring the length of his daughter's shorts. You're not allowed to wear anything short outside of the house, obviously, because that's asking for something, because boys aren't allowed to look at you. I don't get it. Why are you sexualizing your daughter's body? Why can't she wear shorts? What's the problem with wearing shorts? What's the problem with wearing shorts? Let your daughter have a body. Let her wear shorts. Why are you policing that? Why does it matter? Why did you see your daughter wearing clothes and decide, like, that's not appropriate to wear outside? Like, what went through your head? Why is that a thought that you had? Just let your kids be kids. Let them wear what they want to wear. Let them do what they want to do. As long as they aren't hurting themselves or anyone else, I really don't see why it matters and why it bothers you so much. I think that is enough of that, because it kind of starts to get a little bit repetitive, because they all kind of do just say and do the same shit, but it never ends. And they get thousands upon thousands of likes, and people continue to find it funny, and they continue to make these videos and these posts, and they continue to sell t-shirts and hats and signs and flags and whatever you can think of, threatening anyone who even looks at their daughters, virginity pledges, signing contracts that I will not date until I am 40 or whatever, because apparently it's so funny. It's so funny to tell your daughter that you own her and her body. Like, that's just such a hilarious joke, especially when it's not even a fucking joke. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with more toxic parent stories sometime soon, I'm sure. Yeah, I hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. I appreciate you greatly. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Raven, Elias, Chris, and Amelia. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get videos a day early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.
When you close your eyes, you replace the dark.